Do you like the backdrop lights being Christmassy? Yes. How come? Because Christmas makes you happy. Absolutely it does. Because as I was firing everything up tonight, I said, hey, Andrew, what colors do you want the stage to be tonight? And he goes, well, green popped up to begin with, accidentally. And so I said, what color do you want the stage to be tonight? And he says, green and red. And I said, ooh, Christmassy. And so we're Christmassy tonight because Christmas makes you happy. Why does Christmas make you happy? Because you get presents, of course. Of course, that's why it makes you happy. Do what? Well, yeah, what else are you going to do? I mean, you want it to be Christmas cookies. Everybody loves Christmas cookies. You get Christmassy stuff. Okay, I'm with you. The smell, what? Yes, if you said caroling, you just sucked up to my wife tremendously because she loves the caroling, which there's nothing wrong with the caroling, but anyway, we're going to be talking about what? Season one of what show? The Office. Has anybody ever seen The Office? Has anybody ever watched it, like several seasons of it and stuff like that? Okay. I'm going to be perfectly 100% honest with you all, and please don't throw rocks at me one bit, because I had a friend of mine, well, a guy that he's my wife is my best friend, okay? Now, I am kissing up, okay? But my guy best friend said, hey, you've really got to watch The Office. It's hilarious. I just love the show. And so I had Netflix at the time whenever he said this, and so I went home, and I turned on The Office on season one, and I don't remember why I was home for a while. I don't know if I had hurt myself or whatever. But anyway, so I started watching it, and I watched the first episode, and I watched the second episode, and I watched the third episode, and I'd finally had all I could stand. And I said, this is the dumbest crap I've ever seen in my entire life. I said, how can you sit and watch this? And so while I'm explaining this to him that this is the dumbest stuff I've ever seen, it makes me hurt to watch it. It's so stupid. And I'm sitting there going, how can people spend their life watching this every time it comes out? So how many of you that love The Office are now mad at me? It's okay. How many of you are like, well, you're stupid. Yeah, you're stupid if you don't like it. You know, the show's stupid, you're stupid. Okay. His girlfriend chimes up from the back. How could you have him start with season one? Because it starts off slow, and it's not that good, and it's not that good. And the show gets better as it goes along, she said. She said, just suffer through the first season. And I'm going, okay, you lost me when you said the word suffer. I am not going to suffer to get to anything. I'm not going to. If I can find something else to watch, I'm not going to suffer to get to it, okay? Has any of you ever watched, Lord Jean likes the Avengers movies. I like the Avengers movies. Our whole family likes the Avengers movies. Star Wars, we like Star Wars, that kind of stuff. But have you ever seen, if you were to say start watching a series, and it was an action series, and there was people that get killed here and there, or people who live and all this stuff. If you saw like season 7 of The Hero and he was still alive, but you're watching season 3 and you're like, oh no, he could get killed in this scene. Are you really worried he's going to get killed? Why? Because you've seen him in season 7, okay? So, season 1, very slow. It was very slow to watch. It was all I could do to make it to season 3. I'm going to be, or episode 3, I'll be totally honest with you, because it was so painful to watch. I mean, has anybody ever watched the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond? Okay? It hurts. It hurts sometimes. But I find some TV shows, I like them better once they're off the air and they're reruns. I don't know why. like the TV show Seinfeld. I never could have watched it. You all would have been very little when Seinfeld was coming out, and I was like, this is the dumbest show I've ever seen. But then the reruns came out, watching it again, and I found myself watching it. But I like to go back on Amazon and watch the old 1980s TV shows that were out when I was a kid, and like the TV show Cheers. Me and Joe watched Cheers one time together. Probably shouldn't. Now, the humor and stuff then didn't really seem that bad to me. Would be very unacceptable today, okay? Because it was in the 1980s, and nobody was politically correct in the 1980s, so it was what it was. So we are going to talk about, where do you feel like you are right now in life? Which season? You think you're in season 1? Okay. Why do you think you're in season 1? Well, I hope so. I hope that you do. I hope that you live till you are 105. And you're on the Today Show, on the Smuckers, 100 and some plus old people that they show every day. If you don't know, on the Today Show, they will that's Smuckers puts their face on their label and they say, "Oh, this person's 100 and some years old and they live in Coons Bay, Oregon," or whatever. So maybe one day they'll say, Karma. See, I get to read the names this year at Baculord. I so want to butcher your last name. I know how to say it, but I want to say something like Romain or Romamoon. But how many times has your last name been butchered at a ball game? Or have they got it right? Okay, does anybody else have your last name butchered at a ball game or your first name? How do they pronounce your last name? Because trust me, I have said you all's last name wrong 100,000 times. And the correct pronunciation of it is Youthy. Yeah. I never really, my wife would correct me all the time. So, anybody else get your name butchered? What do they say? McClelland instead of McClelland? Yeah. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to mess Doug Henry up. It's pretty hard. Yeah, there's people that like to put an extra E in Henry. It'd be Henrey.
I did that for a while until your wife corrected me, but honestly, I didn't care.
Yeah, I don't know why. So, you feel like you're in season 1, okay? So, has your episode started out slow? Is season 1 kind of slow compared to what you think season 2 is going to be? Because if you're thinking you're in season 1 right now, season 2 must be when you graduate high school or maybe when you get a family or whatever it is. What do you think season 2 looks like in your life? Where do you think season 2 starts? After high school? Okay. So after high school is when you think season 2 starts. Is there a season 3? What's season 3? Marriage? Kids, maybe? Some of you may not get married and be stuck in season 2 the rest of your life. Do what? Yes. It's terrible. Everybody should have children. See, I think season 4, maybe 5 is retirement. Because you got kids, then you have grandkids, and then, I don't know, you could just pick however you want your seasons to go. But whenever I was starting to think about this message, immediately, whenever he had me watch this, I was like, there's got to be a sermon in this. Because he said it started out slow, so you got to push through to get to the good parts. I'm forming a thought in your head right now, I hope. Because you're in season 1 right now. Do you feel like you're having to push through to get to the good part? Okay. We're going to look at a guy named Levi, aka known as, do you know your Bible characters? AKA, he was a tax collector. Matthew, yeah. Okay, so Mark 2:13 through 17. This is going to make totally no sense, and we're going to study this backwards. Then Jesus went out to the lake shore again and taught the crowds that were coming to him. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at his tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Levi got up and followed him. Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as a dinner guest, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. There were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers. But when the teachers of religious law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with tax collectors and other sinners, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with such scum?" So, just backing up here for you, you have to absorb the picture that is being painted to be able to totally grasp what is happening in these verses. You have to grasp the categories of people that are there, the environment, everything to really set the mood of what is happening right now that God is trying to get you to pull out of these verses. Because right now we just look at it as, hey, Jesus got this guy who was a sinner and said, "Follow me," and they left, right? That's how most people look at it. Again, if you have me as your teacher, your speaker, whatever, we like to suck everything out of the verses we can get. Okay, so Jesus was on a lake shore again and taught the crowds that were coming to him. So there are crowds coming to him. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at what? Tax collector's booth. Did anybody like a tax collector? Does anybody really like a tax collector? Unless your job is tax-based. My wife loves a tax collector. You know why? Taxes are what pays her salary. You have a school because there are taxes. Okay, one day you'll have to learn about taxes. Okay, so tax collectors, not really people that anybody wanted to be around. Okay, but did they just automatically become a tax collector? No. What happened? Yeah. They started forming a lifestyle at a young age. Now, this is Levi. He would have been taught the Torah. He would have known all the religious laws because he's Jewish. He would have known all the religious laws, and he would have known about God, and he would know about how he's supposed to live his life. But what is he doing? He's a tax collector. He's collecting taxes for the Roman government, not for his own people alone, because at this time, Jewish people were under Roman rule. So Levi not only is taking money from his own people, he's giving it to the very people they hate. So do you see how disreputable and nasty Levi was considered to be by his own people? Nasty, disreputable, horrible person. Jesus walks up to him, says, "Follow me and be my disciple." Now again, Jesus had been working in the area and been preaching and teaching. So Jesus was not just this random dude who just walks up and goes, "Hey, let's go. Follow me, be a disciple of me." If some weird random dude just walked up and said that to you, what are you going to say? Stranger danger, stranger danger. You're going to do, you got pepper spray on your keychain, you're going to spray that guy and run like crazy, okay? That's going to be what you're going to do. But, so, he had heard about Jesus. He had maybe listened to some of Jesus' teaching. He had some knowledge of who Jesus was. And if he does this and follows Jesus, is he wanting to get out of the lifestyle that he's in? He's looking for a new season of his life because the one he is in is considered to be ugly. Let me ask you a question. Has anybody ever looked down on you from where you come from? Has anybody ever looked down on you from the house you live in, from your maybe parents' decisions, brothers, sisters' choices, even some of your own choices? People can hold them over your head. Since we're pretending we have Christmas colors behind us, people can hold them over your head like they're mistletoe, but not with the intent to show you love, but to stab you in the back when they hug you. Do you see what I'm saying? Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as a dinner guest, along with many tax collectors. So he brought his bros with him to hang out and see Christ. Okay? So there were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers. But when the teacher of religious laws, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with tax collectors and other sinners, they asked his disciples, Why didn't they ask Jesus? It is. Because they were scared of him. They were scared because the people loved him. And so they were scared of him enough that they just want to go around and talk about him and ask questions. Sneaky people. Do you have those in your life? Sneaky people. They like to go around and backdoor you to ask questions, maybe to tear you down or talk about you and kind of demean your value as a person. So they ask him, why does he eat with such scum? Do you think anybody's ever considered you as scum? Maybe from backgrounds, maybe not necessarily make it as scum, but lesser value. Okay? I got the chance to talk to a guy this week who did 10 years in prison for having a car accident, and 2 people died in the car because he was drunk. And so when I was talking to him, it was about other things, but then he started talking about, he started reading the Bible in prison. He had nobody to teach him what the Bible said, but he read it and he interpreted it how he thought it was. Now, I had about an hour and a half Bible study with this guy, sitting in his yard, because his theology was a little off. Okay, so helped him out. He had the gospel, he had all that stuff, but he said something to me that was very profound. He said, people looked down upon me for the bad decision I made, and I made a horrible decision that caused 2 people their lives. And he said, I am deeply sorry for that. He said, I spent years feeding the bad side of me. He said, the only way I could get out of that reputation or get out of that is to start feeding the good side of me. I think Levi was starting to want to feed the good side of him. He was tired of feeding the bad side. Have any of you ever fed the bad side for a while and you start to feel depressed? I mean, not that you don't feel depressed even when you're feeding the good side, but you start to feel a less sense of worth about yourself, and maybe life is spinning in directions that you have no idea where it's turning. So I think when Jesus shows up to Levi, he's in season 1 of his life. Things are going slow. He's stuck in a rut, and he's not real happy about where he is. And so when Christ shows up and says, will you follow me? He was looking for something to latch onto. He was looking for something good to grab a hold of, because is he sitting in the middle of a mess? He's sitting in the middle of hated people. He's sitting in the middle of people that others call scum. And in your season 1 of your life right now, you choose who you sit in the middle of. And Levi was tired of sitting where he was sitting. And he knew where he was wrong. You ever been where you knew was wrong? Oh, I have. I went to college. I was in high school. I went to a lot of places where I knew I shouldn't have been there. You will probably find yourself in positions, even from now on, you're like, I shouldn't be here. That's why whenever my friends wanted to go somewhere, guess what I did? I drove. Because it was, if things got where I felt uncomfortable, guess what? You either left with me or you found a new ride. Because, as I told you, I don't like being uncomfortable. So when I watched this season of The Office, I quit with episode 3 because I was just like, this is wasting my time. Because I was getting uncomfortable watching it because it wasn't fun. And so I moved on through. So do you see the picture of Levi? He has to be, when you really look at these verses and just put yourself in his shoes, but for a person to go, I'll go with you, that quick, was he searching for something? Yes. He could. There's no record of him saying, well, what do I get? There's no record of saying, what's in it for me? Immediately Jesus shows up and says, come follow me. And what's he do? He follows him. Not only that, he invites him over to his house and says, eat with me. And then on top of that, he wants to save his friends because they're in this spot. Because these are his people. They're who he's comfortable with. Come with me. And so he brings them with him, and they get to listen to Jesus and eat with them. But has anybody ever judged you for the people that are in your life? But do they always know the motives of why you're with them? Have you ever hung out with anybody because you're trying to make them a better person? Have you ever made them your friend, spent time with them because you're trying to make them a better person, draw them in maybe to a Christ-like life? Some of you in this room, I know it's true because you've told me about it, how you've tried to invest in some other people that are not making some good decisions, so you grab a hold of them and start being their friend and pull them in. But can people start to pick you apart because you're friends with them? Because they could look at you and say, how are you hanging out with such scum? That's just the introduction. Are you ready to get into the message? That was free. I'm not going to charge you for that one. Okay, so season 1, this is what we're looking at. Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as a dinner guest, along with many tax collectors and disreputable sinners. There were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers. He's in season 1, so he's moving out. So we've covered that, correct? Because trust me, I was so excited about this message. I think I've skipped like my first 2 points already. We've already nailed them. But I really, this message last night, whenever I was putting it together, just grabbed a hold of me and sucked me in, because I'm like, yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, this is still me today. And so when he does this, he says, but when the teachers of religious laws were Pharisees saw him eating with the tax collectors, other sinners, they asked his disciples, why do you eat with such scum? You can't control your past season, can you? You can't, I put it on Facebook a few weeks ago even, you can't do anything about your beginning, can you? But can you do something about the rest of your story to the ending? Yes. How many of you are still stuck living in your beginning? Is it hard to kick a reputation? Is it? How hard is it? What makes it hard to build a new reputation, have a new image of yourself? Who's the hardest on you about getting a new reputation? You. Because you will go into rooms and you'll put thought bubbles over people's heads that aren't really there. I do it all the time. Anybody ever walked into a room and you just like, they're looking at me? They're talking about me. They may be 5 tables across at the lunchroom in school and you just know they're talking about you. You ever been there? Yes. And you put thought bubbles over these people's heads that aren't really there. And so who's destroying your reputation? You with the help of who? Satan. The devil will creep in and tell you how worthless you are and tell you, you know what? You can't push through. You are stuck in season 1. This is who you are. This was your friends. These are the evil people that you're hanging out with, collecting taxes. People hate you like Levi. This is who you're spending your time with. This is your comfortable area, so why don't you just stay there? Don't push through. I told my wife to begin with, I said, you know, whenever I started trying to figure out something for this message, I had a really gross title for this message. You know what it was? I got zits. Does that sound weird? How many of you just love acne? You just love it. How many of you hate it with a passion? How many of you girls wash your face and wear these masks and all this other stuff to make sure that you have clear, crystal clear skin and they still pop up, right? Yes. But hold on. Adulthood is coming. They're not as frequent. They still show up every now and then. But hold on. Just push through and you'll get there. They'll be gone eventually. And she's like, that's gross. You can't do that. So I changed it, did something else. Are you glad I didn't get off on the... It's kind of gross, correct? You'd hate to see a big giant pimple up here on the screen, okay? Aren't you glad I changed that? I am. So you can't control your past. So to capitalize some more, I know we've read these verses again, but I want to capitalize on them some more. Then Jesus went out to the lakeshore again and taught crowds that were coming to him. I have a camera that's focused on me right now, but it's going to have to get over it. He walked along, and what did he do? He saw you and stopped. He saw you, the son of whoever that is, sitting in your sin at your sinful booth, sitting there. And he says, hey, follow me. And what did you do? Did you put him off? Did you say, no, hold on, I'm comfortable right here. I'm okay right here. Did it take some time before you were able to follow him? Because I did this number in church many nights as they would give invitation, and I would hold on to this as tight as I could because I knew what I needed to do, but I just held on to this thing. And I'll wait till next Sunday. I'll wait till next Wednesday. And eventually, he came by again, and this time he wasn't alone. So he brought his Holy Spirit with him and said, how about you go talk to him tonight while this message is going on so we can get this done. And so that was the night I let go of this thing, and I walked up to the front, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior. You have to put this picture on you. Jesus walked up to wherever you were, sitting there, and he looked at you, and he said, "You've heard about me. You've seen me preaching in the area. You've heard that I've healed people. I've done miracles. Follow me." Do you think at any point Levi went, "He has no idea who I am. He doesn't know the thoughts that are in my head. He doesn't know how I've cheated people. He doesn't know how mean I've been to people. He doesn't know how I've stabbed my friends in the back just to collect a little more money from somebody else. He doesn't know me." But did he? Did he know exactly who he was walking up to when he walked up to him? Did he? The day he walked up to you, he knew exactly who he was walking up to. And he said, "Follow me." And you have a decision to make. People will beat you up left and right because of bad decisions your family has made, because of bad decisions you have made, because of the town you come from, because of your age, your height, your weight, your gender, whatever it is. They will beat you up for it. But they see Levi the tax collector, the disreputable sinner. But who does Jesus see? He sees the person that on about pound 3 of the nail through his hand he was thinking about. He sees the person about the time his feet were being broken from the nails going through it, because he was thinking about you. I'll be selfish, he was thinking about me. He was thinking about Andrew wearing his Gas Monkey Garage t-shirt again. Do you see, Jesus walks up to, we look at this story and we just write it off as just a really cool story. Jesus walks up and says, "Hey, go with me." And he got up and went with him. But you have to see how everybody else looked at him. You have to see how he looked at himself. If you find yourself hanging out with these disreputable scum people that the Pharisees were talking about, how hard is it to pull yourself out of that hole you've got yourself into? It's hard, because now you've got to turn your back on these people that have been your comfort zone. And you've got to start denying yourself. You've got to start following Christ. Are you perfect? No. We discussed this last week, right? You're not perfect. Was Levi perfect? No. But he wanted to make a new story, so he had to write a new season. So here's what we're going to look at. Do you feel like life gets dark sometimes? It does. Do you have depression, anxiety? Has anybody here ever had depression, anxiety, and all that other stuff? Just felt like your whole world's collapsing? It stinks. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless, empty, and darkness. Do you ever felt that way? Formless, empty, and in darkness? Covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the water. What was it? But how bright was it? It was dark. Have you ever been in the absence of light? What's the darkest setting you've ever been in your life? I don't mean emotionally, I mean physically. The darkest place you've ever been, you're like, holy crap, this is dark. You ever been there? You got locked in what? A gun. Ooh, that is dark. Locked in a gun safe. That is dark. Hey, that's true. The air runs out. I remember as a teenager coming home one night in my pickup, and it broke down at the bottom of Greasy Creek Hill coming out of Washburn. That was before cell phones existed. Well, before you could afford the cell phones that existed. I better get back on stage so people online can see me. Truck is broke. It's a lot brighter up here. Trucks broke down. There's no moon. Not as many houses on that road at that time. And so I went and knocked on a couple doors and no one would answer. So I grabbed an 1 1/4 wrench out of my pickup as a weapon to hold in my hand, and I walked home all the way in the dark. Do you hear noises? Scare the living crap out of you. So when this was documented, why do you think God had them document how empty and dark this was? It's scary. It's emptiness. The same as you feel dark emotionally, the emptiness that is there. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. So do you have to stay out of the shadows? But notice he didn't separate, it says in here, he separated the light from the darkness. If you read other translations, it'll see that it went from evening to morning, not morning to evening. The darkness was gone because the light came in. Is teenage life hard? Is season 1 of your life hard? It is, because you got to push. You got to push through all kinds of stuff. And this is a battle that we're fighting, especially this last year. Teen suicide was through the roof because of they said because of COVID shutdown, but I don't really believe that. I think it was other things. But it was through the roof. Because do you feel like there's some emptiness sometimes and you don't want to push through? That it gets hard to be a teenager? Do you think us adults really understand what it's like to be a teenager? It's okay if you say no, because this is where I tell youth leaders all over the place, you can't judge a teenager by the problems, by how you see it as an adult. You have to go all the way back when you were a teenager so you can empathize, sympathize, everything else under the thighs with them, so you can start understanding what's going on in their shoes. Because do adults forget what it was like to be a teenager? Absolutely. And we start judging you on how we know as an adult. Because are we smart? We've lived a lot. I've lived through a lot of things. I've learned in my line of work, I've learned through a lot of people's bad decisions. It's not that I'm all that uber smart not to do this or that, but I've seen a lot of people make some bad decisions, and I've learned from it. But God takes something dark as the earth, and he says, you know what? Light. Now, was darkness totally gone? Do we have dark? We have nighttime, right? How many of you like the nighttime? My wife is a night person. She loves to stay up late. I'm an early riser. I love watching the sun come up. How many of you love watching the sun go down more than you love watching the sun come up? I'm a sun up kind of guy. I was out there this morning. Sun was just coming up, and I mean birds chirping, worlds coming to life, and that's my time of day. I like listening to all the earth come to life in the morning. Joe's still asleep, not making noise like all them little kids out there. Stay out of the shadows. Is it hard? Because could have Levi went back to his tax collector friends after Jesus ate lunch with him? Yes, it doesn't document if any of those guys went with him, but we know that Levi did, because Levi is known as Matthew. It's pretty cool. Matthew is Levi. You read it on further. But James 1:17 says, whatever is good and perfect is a gift coming down to us from God our Father, who created all the light in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. Any darkness in your life never ever comes from God. Now, does God allow you to go through some darkness? Yes. Why? Why does God allow you to go through darkness? To grow you. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Does that mean you can do everything? Or does that mean you can do everything that's in God's will? All things work together for the good. Does that mean that everything's good? No, because they leave out the back half of that verse. Look it up sometime. Genesis 1:5. God called the light day and the darkness night, and evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. Notice how that happened? Evening passed and morning came. The darkness left, the light came in. The darkness can leave and the light can come in if you choose to stay out of the shadows. Because Jesus seen you in the shadows. Just like I told you, when Levi was sitting there at his tax collector booth, what did Jesus do? What did he first do? He seen him. not him. He's seen him. He's seen him. He's seen his heart. Did Jesus always focus on people's hearts? Half the stuff he did towards the Pharisees was because he could see their hearts. Jesus right now sees your heart. He knows that if you're sitting there right now going, whatever, or if you're really examining yourself and you're seeing the shadows he's pulled you out of. Are shadows going to come again? Yes. And are you going to look for the light? That is the big decision. Because John 10:10, the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. But Christ says, my purpose is to give them rich and satisfying life. How many of you only hear the first half of that verse? A lot of people quote John 10:10 that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. They leave out the back half. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Philippians 1:6, and I am certain that God, this is Paul, who began the good work within you, will continue his work until it's finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns. It's a new season. I'm not talking about your teenage years. You choose tonight. If I'm stuck in this first season, if I'm stuck in this horrific darkness, you get to choose. Do I let God see my heart? Do I let him? Because Levi could have said, nah, I'm good, I'm going to stay here. You get to choose tonight. God, I'm good, I'll stay right here. I know I've been messing up. I know that I've not been praying like I should. I know I haven't been giving you a lick of attention at all, that I've been sitting with my disreputable friends, and I'm okay with that. Some of you may be doing really good, but you want to go further. Because should we want to go further in our walk with Christ, I'm still trying to get there. I still have days where I want to go further and further and further. I want to go. Because it tells me that a work that he started in me is good. If you have Jesus Christ as your Savior, is there a good work in you? But do you forget that? Do you forget there's a good work in you? I do. You forget it. I went back to the tax collector booth and hung out with my bros. There's no way he can forgive me. But he will walk up again and again and again and see you. Because it's a new season in your life. Do you want a new season? Do you want to push through where you are right now? Some of you may be pushing hard, but some of you are giving it like this much effort. Do you want to push hard? How hard do you want to drive down the court when you're playing basketball? You want to go hard. If you just pranced like this, how far would you get? First off, they would all laugh at you. You probably wouldn't even be on the court to begin with if you didn't push hard. How do you get to be on the starting 5 or whatever it is, or starting 6 or whatever sport you're playing? How do you get there? You have to push. And is there somebody pushing you? Do you know why I give these messages to you? And push you. Because I want you to be better than 13 to 18-year-old Doug was. Because you know what I didn't have? A push. I had a great mother, I had a great father that showed me, but I didn't have a church that pushed. I had a church that said, if you went to church, good. If you didn't go, it's on you. That was the 1980s mindset of a church, and we're still fighting it today. But I had no one to push. My Sunday school teachers, great people. Wouldn't trade them for nothing. Love them to death. But there just wasn't that push. Do you want to push? Does somebody need you to push? You've all got a friend stuck at that booth. If you're that person tonight stuck at that booth, I want to give you the opportunity to pray, God, I'm stuck. And I want to push through. I want to be better. 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 I want to push. And some of you may say, God, I'm pushing hard. Keep strengthening me. Keep giving me the strength to keep pushing. I'm not going to put all of you in the same bucket, because you're not. Some of you are knocking it out of the park. Some of you are being an example for friends right now, even though they are cutting you down every day. You're still pushing. Keep pushing. If you need some encouragement, I'll give it to you. But I ain't going to powder your little bottom. You got to push. Suck it up and push. Has this made any sense whatsoever? Have you changed your mind about the story of Jesus walking up and saying, Levi, follow me? It's not that simple. First, Jesus saw him. Not him. Him. He says, I know you. I can see your heart. Do you know who people are still talking about 2,000 some years later? Matthew. His story didn't end right there. We're still talking about Matthew. We're still teaching about him and how he followed Christ. Would you love someday for people to go, you know what? Cammie was all over it. She's turned her life around, started following Christ, and I want that for my kids. Do you want people to use you as an example how others should live their life? Then push. Maybe I should have titled this message, Push. Keep pushing. But some days it's hard, isn't it? If you'd have ran that race tonight, would you have had to have found some point to make yourself push? You run. You know what it's like to run long distances. Have you ever... You got to push. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go. Find that energy somewhere and go. Where do you find it? Some people find it in prayer more than they find it in song. Some people find it in song more than they find it in prayer. Some of them find it by listening to a podcast. Some of them find it by talking to a friend, listening to a message, or just simply sitting still and say, God, I need you. This message is not to depress you. This is to give you a goal to move forward. Season 1, you guys are almost through it. If season 1 is your teenage years, some of you are almost through it. Some of you are like, I'm wearing heavy shoes to run this race. You got to push. Make sense? You guys good? I didn't lose you. I probably lost you somewhere. You probably got tired of hearing Levi's story. But it's so good when you sit and look at what Jesus did. I see you. Tonight, he sees you sitting right where you are, fidgeting, ready for me to shut up. I want to give you a moment to pray, and then we're going to close. Do you want to sing a song tonight to close, or you just want to close? You want to close. Okay. You didn't hurt her feelings. I don't think. She's pretty mad back there, but it'll be all right. I'm just kidding. I want to give you the opportunity just to pray and say, God, this is me. I know you see me. This is where I am. Help me push. You ain't here tonight by accident. You didn't get canceled off of your race tonight by accident because God needed you to know you got to push. You got to keep going. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 chairs that are empty. Those people don't get the encouragement to push. Father, I thank you for this night. And as these students pray, God, I just pray that they examine their hearts. There is none of us in this room that has room to judge each other at all. There's none of us in this room that has the right to look at the other one and say, you're scum. Because God, you created the heavens and the earth, and when you created man and woman, you said, not that it is good, it is very good. God, help us not to look at ourselves as that we are so bad that we could never follow you, that we could never pick things back up again. God, we fall every day. It's called sin. We are sinners. And I hope that every student in this room gets the encouragement to understand that you see them right where they are and you are ready to eat with them anywhere they are. As you did with Levi, you went to a house full of sinners and you sat down and you ate and you ministered to them. God, help us to understand no matter how dark our life gets, that we can push through to the light which is you, and that you will sit down and feed me. God, I just pray that they are taking this time to be real with you and say, this is where I am. God, I'm doing it. I'm doing it as hard as I can. Keep giving me strength. Or maybe simply it's, Father, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Father, if there is anyone in this room tonight that does not know you as their Savior and is stuck in that sinful life, that is doomed and going to hell, that tonight they get it right. Some maybe have been sitting at a tax booth pretending that they're saved, but they're not really saved. And they need to get it right tonight. Someone in here tonight may not feel like they're saved, but they are, and it's just separation from you because of an unconfessed sin in their life. But God, as we see with Peter, as he fell into the water, he was no more than an arm's length away. Help everyone in this room to never look at themselves as they are hopeless, because it's hard to be a teenager. Feel like you don't fit in. Feel like you'll never be enough to what mom and dad, brother, sister, community expects of you, especially when they've put you on a pedestal. God, help us to gather our strength from you, not from the words of others. God, help each student in this room to draw their image from how you see them, not how someone wants to send them pictures that are inappropriate, Father. Help us to gather our worth from you, not from others. And help us to drag our friends, our disreputable friends, to you. God, I thank you for the story of Levi sitting there, and I thank you for seeing me and saving my soul. Father, we ask all this in Jesus' holy name tonight. Amen.